How y'all doing today? I'm here today with my daughter-in-law, Priya, Sergeant Priya, because she's a sergeant in the Army. That's what brought her here, and that's kind of what we'll talk about. One of my sermons when I was still pastoring a few months ago, I was talking about how God got us to where we are for His certain plan. And, you know, as I look at my life, I can see things He's done now. I didn't see them at the time, but I look back and I see what God has done to get me where I needed to be, to get me with my wife, who He wanted me to be with. And, you know, I was talking to Priya about it earlier, and, you know, we was thinking about that and talking about what God has done, if she could see it in her life, and she said, yeah, so. Anything you can think right off you want to share, or of what you can see what God has done in your life?
Well, when you asked me that question earlier, I, I think about these things in passing. Obviously, when they happen right in the moment, I don't really see what's working in place, and I mean, I know that's how God works. I, I try not to question it. I try not to, I try to just stay in that moment. But really, in that moment, I don't see what's going on until a couple weeks, couple months down the road, and I look back on a certain thing, and I'm like, maybe this did happen for a reason, because this event or whatever might have happened is what put me in the place that I'm in now. And whether or not, I didn't feel like I wanted to be in that place back then, I'm in the place where I feel that God needs me to be. Um, like what I was saying, when I moved to the Philippines, when I moved from the Philippines, I was supposed to go to college, like right out the bat. And um, I moved in July of 2022. Actually, on Tuesday is going to be my 4 years here in the U.S. And I was supposed to go to college in fall of that year. But 2 weeks in, you know, a lot of things were going on. I had a scholarship that the paperwork was getting complicated because I was now a permanent resident and not an international student, all those things. And I was getting frustrated. I didn't want to deal with all those adult things. And I just kind of let it go. And one day I looked at the Army website, and I took this Find Your Career quiz. And the next morning, I guess it sent my phone number to some recruiter. Next thing you know, 2 weeks out, I'm shipping off to basic training. And the rest was that. I went in blindly. I didn't know anything about the U.S. I didn't know anything about the culture. Didn't know anybody. And here I was at 17, 18, moving away from my family now, when I had just moved away from my home of my whole life. I was scared, and I didn't know what was going to come of it, but then I meet my husband down the road, and I think that's what I'm trying to say is, like, back then I was like, what is going on? Why is this not scholarship going through? Why is college not going through for me? And I was very frustrated. But now I have, a new family, and I have all these things that are surrounding me, and I have a job that I love, and I was able to find myself in that. And I think that's what really got us to talking about that.
Yeah, I was asking her because, my son joins the Army. My son Colton joins the Army, and he's been in, what was he in, maybe a couple of years when y'all met, give or take?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Around the same. We had joined the same year,
Oh,
but
okay.
a couple months apart.
But, he had joined the Army, and he had been deployed over to the Middle East and came back, and I guess you had been placed in that company, right, while he was in the Middle East, and they come back and y'all met. So,
Yeah.
you know, this just, and that's what I was saying. When you stop and look and think, wow, how did I get here? God's got me here for a reason. God's got people in my life for a reason. We don't always see it right away, but let's look back, and I promise you, when I was your age, I didn't even think about stuff like this. So I wasn't even a Christian at your age. But, you know, when we really look back, even though I wasn't a Christian, God was still working in my life.
Mm-hmm.
He was. He's working in everybody's lives. He wants to, you know, we just have to let him do it. But I can look back at what all he's done through my life, where he's got me, for me to meet my wife, for me to have my kids. You know, these things I don't believe in as just a coincidence. I believe God's got a plan for every single person that's ever been born on this earth. I truly do. There's a plan and purpose for all. You might say, well, if that's true, then why do some die as babies? Well, God got a purpose for them. They're with him now. So, you know, there's a purpose for everyone. There's no doubt in my mind in that. But as we were talking, and that's what we was talking about, how God does it. And, you know, she started just seeing it in her life, and y'all can tell she's really smart. Just by listening to her, you can tell that she's very intelligent. And you only been living in the United States, what, 4 years now?
Yeah.
And you got a better American accent than I got. That's pretty good. People
Picked
still
it
make
up.
people still make fun of my accent. But you know, we are glad to have you in our family. Of course, you know that. But I just wanted to get on here and share that with y'all. You might be going through something. Maybe if you're watching this video, maybe you don't understand. You don't know why you're going through it, or your family's going through it, or whatever it may be. But you know, might look back someday and say, wow, I didn't even see what God was doing at that moment. I didn't even see that. But, you know, you can look back later and say, wow. Like me, my parents divorced. And when I was 15, and through that, I met my wife. And sure, it took years later before we were married, but the point is, how would that have worked out? Because I changed school buses, and a lot of things changed in my life for that to happen. She moved a world away to meet her husband. All those things I really don't believe are coincidence. That's God's plans. God's got a plan, and if we let him, God will work it out. But too many times we are what gets in God's way. I get in God's way of myself. We like to blame other people. We like to blame other things. But, you know, I'll always tell you, if God's plan don't work out in my life, I'm the one that stopped it. I'm the one that got in its way. It's on me. But, you know.
And see, that's the thing is, I mean, I'm not the most religious person. I try to pray every day, but, you know, I'm not perfect. But like what I was saying, when it's happening right in the moment, I don't automatically think, is this God working? Is this God working through me? Is this God's plan? I don't think that. I think about, you know, the worldly things. And I think about, why didn't this work out for me? How come I didn't get this job? Or like, why didn't I get this promotion or whatever is going on? Why didn't I get to go to this vacation with whatever's happening? You know, just those simple things, everyday things that I guess I take for granted complaining about in that moment. But like I said, down the road, I'll see why certain things happened and didn't happen. Because, for example, I'm glad college didn't happen in that time at that time, or else I wouldn't know what my life would look like right now. And I'm grateful for the life that I do have right now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So I'm glad certain things, you know, kind of had gotten pushed back, and that is God working quietly. But obviously I didn't know it in that moment.
And even now with Colton, my son, being in Korea for
that too.
14 months, but still, I mean, I know y'all were planning on college when he gets back and y'all, get out of the
Yeah.
Army, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
I
y'all were still
mean,
talking college
Yeah.
after that.
When we got that news of him going to Korea, it was like we had just gotten married, we had just gotten settled down. There was a point where I was like, why is God taking him away from me so soon? And but you never know. He's doing great out there, and I'm doing great over here. He's, doing school over there too, and he's working on himself, and the same for me. So things do happen for a reason, and it is hard. The time differences, y'all know, but it works out. And if you want it to work out, like you said, and try not to get in God's way and His plans.
So yeah, don't let these things like that, when they pop up in our life, discourage us from being what God wants us to be, because He's still working. We might not understand it. Give it time. We can look back someday and say, wow, didn't even see that, but look what God did. Boy, my life's full of that. My life's full of, I was mad at that moment. Years later, look what God did. So, anything else?
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you joined us today, and we're praying for y'all. Y'all be praying for us. Be praying for Sergeant Priya Jones here as she gets ready to head back down to her base and go back to her military life. She got to come spend the holidays with us, and we're thankful that she did. So we thank you all, and God bless you.